For some inexplicable reason, I had convinced myself that it was just another ordinary afternoon, one of those rare moments when everything felt calm and serene. The weight of the day had settled on my shoulders, and my exhaustion seemed to swallow me whole, pushing me to seek comfort in the familiar embrace of a long, soothing bath. The water, luxuriously warm, wrapped around me like a gentle cocoon, and the soft steam filled the small bathroom, creating an intimate, almost protective atmosphere. In that peaceful solitude, I let the world outside fade away, finding solace in the silence, believing that nothing could disrupt this fragile peace. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Each of your shares is not only a motivation for us but also contributes to spreading value to the community. If you find this content useful, don't forget to watch the whole video, like, subscribe, and share with someone you think needs to hear this too. Little did I know, that sense of tranquility would be shattered in the blink of an eye. The house, usually filled with life and noise, was eerily still, as if holding its breath. The faint hum of the television from the other room, the one where Timmy's mom was likely lost in her favorite show, seemed like the only sound breaking the silence. Timmy, my sweet nephew, had been staying with me for a few days. His presence always quiet and gentle, his innocent demeanor never betraying a hint of trouble. He was a good boy, always obedient, always calm. And yet, in that moment, I couldn't shake the sense that something was about to change, something I could never have anticipated. As kind as he was, there was always something about him that unsettled me, something I couldn't quite place but felt deeply in my gut. It was a subtle unease that lingered in the back of my mind, like a shadow I couldn't escape, no matter how hard I tried to dismiss it. I tried to let it go, telling myself I was being paranoid, but the feeling never fully went away. As I sunk deeper into the warm water of the bath, the heat slowly began to melt the tension from my sore muscles, offering a brief escape from the chaos of the week. I closed my eyes, letting the gentle ripples of the water cradle me, and let out a long, heavy sigh. It had been an exhausting, overwhelming week, and all I wanted in that moment was to forget everything, to just feel a sense of peace, even if only for a fleeting moment. But then, as soon as I closed my eyes, I heard it. A faint rustling sound from next door. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just the house settling or a draft whispering through the windows. But then it came again, this time unmistakable. A soft, almost imperceptible footstep, as though someone was creeping quietly toward the bathroom. My heart immediately began to race, and I froze, my breath catching in my throat. I strained to hear, feeling every muscle in my body tense. The quiet was suffocating, and my pulse pounded in my ears. Something wasn't right, and that nagging unease I had felt earlier suddenly made all too much sense. The bathroom door was locked, and in my mind that meant I was safe. No one could just walk in. That simple, reassuring thought should have comforted me, but instead, it only made the growing unease in my chest gnaw at me harder. The sound of footsteps grew louder, heavier, each step closer than the last, and then I heard it, the unmistakable noise of the doorknob turning. My stomach twisted painfully, a cold knot forming deep inside me. Who could it be? Was it Joey coming to check on me? I called his name, my voice shaky, but there was no response, no reassurance. I sat there frozen, unsure of what to do. Should I wait or should I open the door? My heart was pounding so loudly in my chest I was sure it could be heard outside the bathroom. The tension in the air felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in around me. Just moments ago, the warm water had been a soothing escape, but now it felt more like a prison, pressing in on me as my mind raced in 1,000 different directions. Was this just some twisted joke, or was something far darker at play? And then, through the overwhelming silence, I heard it. Timmy's soft, trembling voice, calling my name in the quietest whisper. "Aunt," he murmured, so faint I could barely make it out. The sound of his voice only added to the horror flooding through me, its innocence somehow more unsettling than the footsteps that had preceded it. A shiver ran down my spine, a cold rush of dread that made every nerve in my body tingle with unease. Why had he whispered? Timmy had never spoken to me like that before. His voice usually so bright and innocent, but now it carried a strange, unsettling edge. It didn't sound like him, and it made my heart race even faster, a frantic rhythm pounding in my chest. I tried to calm myself to stay composed, but the air around me had shifted. It felt thick, oppressive, as though something unseen was pressing down on me. I had to know what was going on, what was behind that strange, almost desperate tone in his voice. With a deep breath, I pushed through the growing anxiety and stepped out of the tub, my wet feet slipping slightly on the tiles. "What is it, Timmy?" I called out, trying to sound steady, but my voice trembled despite my best efforts. There was a long, agonizing silence before he finally responded. His voice even quieter this time. I need you." His words weren't a simple request from a child. They were laden with something darker, an urgent plea that chilled me to the bone. My fingers gripped the edge of the tub so tightly that my knuckles ached, my nails digging into the cold porcelain as I fought to control my racing thoughts. Was I imagining things, or had Timmy's entire demeanor shifted in an instant? The sweet, innocent boy I knew now seemed different, distant. "Come in," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, the words leaving my lips like a hesitant invitation. A pause hung in the air before the silence was broken, and I couldn't help but feel that something I couldn't quite grasp, was slipping further out of reach. When I turned around, I was met with an image that froze me in place. Timmy stood in the doorway, his small, familiar frame silhouetted against the bright light from the hallway. The door had crept open, almost as though it were drawn by some unseen force. I knew it was him, the same sweet, innocent nephew I had welcomed into my home just days ago, but something was wrong. His eyes, they weren't right. Darker, like they were hiding something I couldn't quite name. I blinked, trying to shake the feeling, unsure if it was just exhaustion clouding my judgment or if I was imagining things. But as he stepped closer, my stomach twisted in unease. His face, it was wrong. The familiar, childish smile I had always known was gone, replaced by something more sinister. His expression was contorted, but not in a playful, mischievous way. It was a twisted mask of something darker, something foreign. The change was subtle yet unmistakable, a shift that made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. "Aunt," Timmy whispered, his voice low and unsettling, the tone so unlike the one I had always known. "As soon as you would notice." He took a slow step closer, his presence now filling the space between us. "You're always so busy, but I need you right now." The way he spoke sent a cold shiver down my spine. His words didn't make any sense. They felt disconnected, almost rehearsed. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. This wasn't my nephew, the boy I'd cared for. This wasn't a child seeking attention. This was something else. Something darker, something twisted. My body screamed at me to act, to move, to do something, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed, my mind unable to process what was happening. Timmy leaned in closer, and his cold, almost icy fingers brushed my shoulder. The touch sent a shock of terror through me, and I could feel his breath, icy and unnatural, against my skin, sending an involuntary shiver through my entire body. Every instinct in me screamed to push him away, to run, but I couldn't move. My limbs felt heavy, frozen in place by the overwhelming fear that had completely overtaken me. His voice, unervingly calm and steady, broke the silence like a cold whisper cutting through the air. "I've been waiting so long for this. I'm not going to let you go now." The words sent a ripple of ice through my veins. The air in the room had become suffocating, so thick with tension that it felt impossible to take a full breath. What was happening? Why was Timmy acting like this? My mind raced, a jumbled mess of confusion and fear. Was he just playing some twisted game? Or had he changed? I struggled to keep my thoughts in check, but panic clawed at me, a wave of terror I couldn't push aside. Something was terribly wrong. I could feel it in every nerve of my body. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to get out, to escape. But my legs were frozen, my body unwilling to obey. It was as though time had slowed, and I was trapped in an unbearable stillness. Timmy leaned in closer, his face coming dangerously close to mine. His cold, unyielding fingers pressing into my arm with a force that made my skin crawl. His breath, chilling against my skin, sent a fresh wave of dread washing over me. "I want to be close to you," he whispered again, the words heavy with an eerie, unnatural calmness. There was no warmth, no affection in his voice, just a chilling detachment that made my blood run cold. His tone wasn't playful, nor was it a child's innocent request. It was something far darker, far more unsettling. His words seemed almost hypnotic, as though they were meant to lull me into a false sense of security, but I could sense no love, no tenderness behind them, only a cold, unnerving stillness. It hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't a normal family moment. This wasn't the playful affection of a child or the loving bond of family. This was something far worse. I felt a flood of questions race through my mind, too many to process, too many to understand. But one thing was clear. This was no longer just about a child needing attention. This was something much more sinister, and I had no idea how I was going to escape it. How had he changed so suddenly? What was happening to him? I couldn't shake the feeling that there had been signs I missed, small things that, if I'd paid closer attention, might have warned me. As my mind scrambled for answers, a chilling thought began to settle in. What if I'd never understand what was going on? There was no logic to any of it, no reason for Timmy's unsettling behavior. Nothing made sense. All I could feel, all I could think about, was the terrifying realization that the sweet boy I had once known, the Timmy I cared for and loved, was gone. In his place stood someone, or something, completely unrecognizable. His grip on my wrist tightened painfully, his fingers digging into my skin with an unyielding force. It wasn't just a child's innocent touch. It was a vice, suffocating and inescapable. The harder I tried to pull away, the tighter he held on, until my wrist burned with the pressure, and I was unable to move. The fear and confusion twisted inside me, paralyzing my body and mind, leaving me unable to act on the desperate urge to flee. I knew I had to get away, had to break free from whatever grip this strange version of Timmy had over me. But my voice came out small, trembling, barely a whisper as I begged. "Please." The word felt weak, empty, as if it couldn't carry the weight of my fear. "What do you have planned? What do you need?" His eyes never left mine, cold and unblinking, and his silence only deepened the fear that gripped my heart. There was no answer, only a chilling resolve in his gaze. It was clear now. He wasn't going to let me go. I struggled harder, my pulse racing, but the intensity of his stare, the way his eyes locked onto mine, held me in place. It was as though he had cast a spell, an invisible force that paralyzed me, and I couldn't escape, no matter how much I tried. My heart was pounding in my chest, each beat a frantic reminder of the fear that was crawling through my veins. Every part of me screamed to run, to escape, but my body felt frozen, as if the very air around me had thickened, suffocating me with its weight. Timmy was always there, so close, his presence like a shadow I couldn't shake. Then in the eerie stillness, his voice, low, almost a whisper, cut through the silence. "You're not going anywhere." The words slid into my spine, sending a chill that spread through my entire body, leaving me tense and shivering. His hand, still gripping my arm, began to move slowly, as though testing my limits, gauging how I would react. I wanted to scream, to push him away with every ounce of strength I had, but no sound would leave my throat. It was as if my voice had been stolen, my body paralyzed by a terror I couldn't explain. Why was he doing this? Where was the Timmy I knew? The sweet, shy boy who would always look up to me. His innocent eyes full of curiosity. The boy who would shyly ask questions about everything, who was always kind, always gentle. Now it was as if someone had taken over him, twisted him into something unrecognizable. As my mind scrambled for answers, I heard the familiar squeak of the bathroom door once again. My heart leapt in hope, a desperate hope that maybe it was my sister, that maybe she would save me from this nightmare. I whipped around, only to find the hallway empty. There was no one there. The only sound was the faint shuffle of weak footsteps, far off in the distance, too far to help. The realization hit me like a punch to the stomach. We were alone, Timmy and I. Alone in this terrifying silence. Had to move. Had to get away. I pushed against his hand once more, but he was stronger than I had imagined. His grip tightening with an unyielding force that left me gasping for air. Panic gripped me as I realized I couldn't break free. The warm water, which had once offered a sense of safety, now felt suffocating, like a heavy weight pulling me under, threatening to drown me in its depths. The walls felt as though they were closing in, and every instinct in me screamed that I was running out of time. Timmy inched closer, his breath like ice against my neck, sending a chill through every nerve in my body. His voice, low and laced with something unsettling, whispered against my ear. "You're mine now, and you always have been. I've been waiting for you to finally understand what," he said. The words slithered into my skin, making me tremble as they hung in the air, thick with a sense of foreboding. It wasn't a simple game anymore. It was something darker, more sinister, and I could feel its weight pressing down on me. My breath hitched, a sharp gasp escaping me as my mind spun into overdrive. He had no hold over me, not really. I was stronger than this. Had to be. But as I looked into his eyes, something twisted in my gut. This wasn't the Timmy I once knew, the sweet, innocent boy who'd begged for bedtime stories and shared endless giggles. That child was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating stranger. His gaze as sharp and emotionless as ice. Panic clawed at me, but I tried to push it aside, my eyes flicking to the small shampoo bottle perched on the edge of the tub. Instinct took over. Without thinking, I grabbed the bottle and hurled it at him. It struck him hard in the chest, momentarily breaking his focus. That was all I needed. I shoved myself away from him, my body moving on pure adrenaline as I scrambled to escape. But the water in the tub was slick, and my legs felt weak, unstable beneath me. "Don't run from me," Timmy hissed, his voice dripping with anger as he advanced on me. His eyes, once full of childish wonder, now burned with a dangerous intensity, a new light flickering in them, one that sent a fresh wave of terror through me. I stumbled backward, heart pounding in my chest, fear creeping up my spine like a dark cloud. Timmy wasn't just trying to scare me anymore. His intentions were far more sinister. He was after me, and his eyes made it clear. He wanted to hurt me. My mind raced, a chaotic blur of desperate thoughts. How could I escape? The bathroom was no sanctuary, but the rest of the house felt just as dangerous. If I ran, would he chase me down? Would I be able to stop him if he caught up? I couldn't bear the thought of being trapped. My hands trembled, and in a futile attempt to shield myself, I wrapped a towel tightly around my body, hoping it would somehow make me feel safer. But the fabric did nothing to calm the storm inside me. I still felt exposed, vulnerable, powerless. Timmy was relentless. His eyes fixed on me with an unsettling, emotionless focus. There was no fear, no hesitation, only a cold, terrifying determination. With every step he took toward me, the space between us seemed to shrink, and I could feel the air grow heavier, suffocating. I whispered, my voice barely a tremble. "This isn't you. I don't know what's happening, but please, you have to stop." The words felt so small in the face of the darkness that had overtaken him. He didn't respond. His silence was deafening. Then he reached out, his grip seizing my arm with an iron strength that made my bones ache. It was so forceful, so deliberate, that I feared my arm might snap. I tried to pull away, but it was useless. My breath caught in my throat as the terror that had been building exploded inside me. He wasn't listening, wasn't hearing anything I said. It was as if the boy I once knew had vanished entirely, replaced by something monstrous, something that knew no mercy. In that moment, a fleeting memory flickered in my mind, distant and hazy, but it felt like a lifeline. It was faint, almost forgotten, yet it seemed to hold the key to understanding the darkness that now consumed Timmy. I couldn't stop thinking about how strange Timmy had been acting over the past few weeks. At the time, it had seemed like nothing more than a phase. Odd dreams, unusual behavior, a sudden change in his attitude. Everyone brushed it off as some kind of passing phase, but now, with everything crashing down around me, it all clicked into place. He hadn't just been going through a phase. Something had happened to him, something that had altered him in ways I couldn't begin to understand. The boy I once knew was gone, replaced by something darker, something unrecognizable. I felt a rush of panic. I had to leave. I had to find a way out of this before it was too late. I could faintly hear my sister's voice from behind the door, distant and muffled, but it was too far away to reach me, too far to help. Timmy and I were locked in this battle alone. I was scared, my heart racing with fear, but it was that very fear that made me strong. I couldn't afford to hesitate, couldn't afford to stop. I had to fight no matter the cost. With everything I had, I pulled my arm from his unrelenting grip, the pain from his fingers digging into my skin only fueling my desperation. For a moment, I thought I'd created the distance I needed, but before I could even fully exhale, Timmy lunged at me, faster than I'd anticipated. His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist with a strength that felt almost inhuman, pulling me back toward him like I weighed nothing. My breath caught in my throat. Panic surged through me, but I forced myself to focus. My hand found the shampoo bottle again, and this time I didn't hesitate. I swung it at him with all my might, the bottle crashing into his face. The impact made him stagger back, disoriented for just a moment. I thought I might finally have the upper hand, but the terror returned when his eyes locked onto mine again. There was no confusion now, just an even darker, more terrifying resolve. "Why do you fight back?" he asked, his voice eerily calm, like he was scolding me for some mistake. "You're mine. I've always loved you." His words sent a cold shiver through me, and his grip loosened just enough for me to seize the opportunity. I didn't think, I just moved. With a rush of adrenaline, I scrambled out of the tub, wrapping the towel around myself, the cold air biting at my skin as I ignored the discomfort. I couldn't stop. I couldn't let him get me again. My legs felt like jelly, trembling beneath me, but adrenaline surged through my veins, pushing me forward with an urgency I couldn't control. My heart pounded in my chest, its rapid beats matching the frantic pace of my thoughts as I bolted toward the bathroom door. I had to escape, had to leave him behind. Whatever had taken over Timmy was too terrifying, too overwhelming for me to face alone. When I threw open the door, my sister stood there, her wide eyes reflecting the fear I felt coursing through me. The noise had drawn her in, but there was no time for explanations, no time for anything. I barely even registered her presence before I screamed, "Jack!" My voice cracked, desperate, but when I turned back around, he was gone. The bathroom, once filled with the weight of terror, was eerily empty. It was as if nothing had happened at all, like Timmy's transformation had been some twisted hallucination. My sister rushed to my side, concern written all over her face, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her what had just occurred. How could I? What I had seen, what I had felt, it didn't make sense. It was as if the boy I had once known, the Timmy who would laugh and run after me, had been swallowed up entirely. In his place was something dark, something far too dangerous for me to understand. As she tried to comfort me, telling me it would be okay, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still very wrong. I caught a glimpse of him, a flash of movement in the hallway. His dark eyes gleamed in the dim light, watching from the shadows, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I couldn't be sure, but I knew he was there. And as much as I wanted to believe I was safe, deep down, I understood one horrifying truth. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next few days would only reveal how much worse it could get. Even though the house felt colder, more oppressive with each passing day, and Timmy's behavior grew increasingly erratic and disturbing, no one else seemed to notice the shift. My sister brushed off my concerns, telling me I was overreacting, that I was just imagining things or letting my mind run wild. It was hard for her to understand the suffocating dread that had settled in my chest. But deep down I knew, Timmy was no longer the innocent child I had once known. The boy who had played with me, who had laughed and smiled, had been replaced by something darker, something dangerous. The unease that gnawed at me never went away. No matter where I went in the house, I never felt safe. The darkness that had consumed him wasn't something that could be easily extinguished. I tried to convince myself it would all make sense soon, that others would finally see what I was seeing, but there was a gnawing fear in me that by then it would be too late. Too late to save him. Too late to stop whatever had taken hold of Timmy. The fear of the unknown grew stronger with each passing day, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just waiting for something terrible to happen. The truth was clear to me, even if no one else could see it. This was only the beginning, and the worst was yet to come. And trust me, the story is far from over. There's so much more to reveal. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss what happens next. Thank you for staying with us. If you find it interesting and useful, please subscribe, like and share so you don't miss the next video. Thanks.